Hello and welcome to week 2. I wanted to create this short video and talk a little bit about working with your literature review and forming an argument. I would like to, before I do that though, draw your attention to the main page here where you'll have access to the announcements. Make sure you do check those. Hopefully you're getting a notification in your email box when I do send out these announcements, but you can also access these from the main page by toggling this link here. You also have notifications for upcoming assignments, so make sure you do periodically check those just to see which assignments are coming up. And discussion tabs. Essentially, those are the assignments, since most of our reflections are discussions. So let's go to modules for week 2, and you'll notice the first link here, developing an argument, is our first bit of content, and this is really going to be a focus and something that you need to be thinking about now as you start looking at your literature review, for those of you who already have something already developed, or if you are in the process of developing your literature review, to think about the order or the organization in which your literature review will take place. So this page here has a lot of information, and I'm going to go over it briefly, but you're encouraged to look through this on your own as well. There are some videos. This one video here in particular, creating an academic argument, it's very good. It's about an hour long, but it's well worth your time to go through the video, take notes, and really be conscious of some of the aspects of organizing your text, since this is a key part in making sure that your literature review is both coherent and cohesive. So we look at here how to organize your literature review. And I talk about some information about research problems and research questions and how to form a good argument. And what I'd like to talk about here is, if we look here in the second paragraph, Toulmin's analysis of argument. And what I'd like to talk about are 3 key terms that you should be aware of whenever you're forming your argument: claim, grounds, and warrant. A claim is basically just your perspective. It's a declarative statement, that something that you think to be true. And I've included some different types of claims here at the bottom. We have claims of fact, of worth, of policy, of concept, and of interpretation. So think of the claims as topics. For example, a topic sentence will be a claim, so the first sentence of each of your paragraphs will be a claim. But all of these claims together, because you'll have several, should link to the thesis statement. Think of the thesis statement as one overall or general claim, and then the rest of your paragraphs and the rest of your text will be made up of subclaims, if you will. It'll be made of premises that all link to your thesis statement. Now, premise is just another word for a claim, but the claims lead to something else. Let's look at an example. If we say, I receive good grades because I study. In that sentence, I receive good grades because I study, consists of 2 claims. The first being, I receive good grades, that's a claim, and because I study. I study is another claim, but those 2 claims are linked. And so actually, because I study, or I study, is actually a premise to receiving good grades. I receive good grades. So you see there, this is a very simple example in one sentence, but imagine an entire literature review or a thesis or an essay where you have all of these different claims that are linked together to form something else. So you can kind of see this idea where we have certain claims that act as premises to other claims. So this is what we mean by claim. It's a declarative statement, it's a position, it's an idea, thought, and again refer to these types of claims as I mentioned here at the bottom of this page. And so the next thing I'd like to talk about are grounds, and another word for grounds would be evidence. And so I'll probably refer to it more as being evidence, because we have spoken a lot about forming good paragraphs using the acronym MEAL, or the MEAL plan, which stands for the main idea, evidence, analyze, and link. And so you can look at so far what we talked about with claim. Claim can also be in terms of a topic sentence or the main idea of a paragraph. And grounds, or evidence, the evidence can be part of the MEAL plan, that is information or data, more specifically, that links to the main idea. So grounds are just support or evidence that supports your claim. So think of most of your citations. In fact, all of your citations should act as evidence or grounds that relate or support the claim. Now, the final term I'd like to talk to you about, warrant, is probably the most difficult of the three in terms of what it is. But if we go back to our acronym MEAL plan, we've talked about main idea and evidence, but we also have analyze sentences. So a lot of times analyze sentences we can look at as being warrants, in that they tie the evidence to the claims. So what you don't want at the end, after your readers finish with your paragraph, asking, well, what's the relevance of this evidence to the main idea? I don't see the connection. Think of the warrant as making that connection very clear. It ties the evidence or the grounds to the claim. So that, I think, as a good rule of thumb, is each paragraph that you develop, try to incorporate a main idea, some evidence, and some sentences where you comment on the evidence or analyze, so the reader can see the connection between the evidence, the examples, and the topic sentence or the main idea. A lot of times as we write, we think that it's very clear for us because we've been researching and we have experience and we have an interest in this particular area, but we have to always put ourselves in the reader's shoes to make sure that when they read it, it's very clear and very straightforward as to what you're trying to achieve in your own writing. So the warrant is what permits a piece of evidence to stand in support of a given claim. Warrants are perhaps the most slippery aspects of an argument. It is, in some cases, it can be very difficult, but we'll be working with you throughout this semester in making sure that you have good warrants. But just remember, in each paragraph, you want to have a main idea, you want to have some evidence sentences, analyze sentences, and the last sentence should be some sort of linking sentence, that is linking the idea of the current paragraph to the idea of the next body paragraph. And these will be the components of each paragraph. Now, moving on, the last thing I'd like to say about organizing your literature review, think again in terms of claims, how you want to organize those claims in a logical fashion to build your argument. And your argument essentially is your thesis statement. That is one sentence that will occur probably at the end of your introduction paragraph, the first paragraph of your work, where you state the main idea. So you're going to have to ask yourself, how can I organize this information into claims, remembering that each claim will also have its own set of evidence and perhaps warrants. But how can I organize this information around a central idea, that is the thesis statement, and a set of research questions? And so I'm going to give you some examples. There are many options here, but I think I'll give you 3 examples that I think you might find useful when you develop your literature review for your thesis paper. The first way that you can organize your claims is what's referred to as a side-by-side logical pattern. And this is simply organizing a series of different reasons or claims that lead to one other claim. So in this pattern, think of a series of different reasons that link to a single conclusion. So you give reasons and you list out all of the reasons, and then you summarize saying, because of all these reasons, we can conclude this one thing, this one claim. Another way that we can organize our claims is through what's referred to as a chain reasoning. So a chain reasoning is where you have a reason leads to one claim, and then that claim leads to another reason, and that reason leads to another claim, and so they're linked in that fashion. So one type of claim leads to another. One type of reasoning. When I say reason, a reason is also in itself a claim. It can also be a premise, but it's a chain of events, or a logical chain of claims, where one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and so on. This is another way that you can organize your information in your literature review, by chain reasoning. Now, the final reasoning pattern I'd like to talk to you about is called a joint reasoning. So when you create your claims using a joint reasoning, think of it in terms of having a group of claims that are required for you to make a conclusion. So a simple example of a joint reasoning would be thinking about snow. So we have two reasoning patterns. One is that temperatures fall below freezing, and two, that there is moisture in the air, that there is precipitation. So we would need both of those two claims in order to make a final claim that it is snowing. Because if we just said that temperatures fall below freezing, we can't claim that there is snow. And if we simply say that there's precipitation and it's not below freezing, then we can't conclude that it is snowing either. So we need to have both of those claims. So this is an example of joint reasoning where we need to have two claims or more, and we need all of those claims in order to make a final conclusion. So these are the three reasonings. We have side-by-side reasoning, we have chain reasoning, and joint reasoning. And these are three basic patterns that you can follow when you're developing your literature review, or when you're thinking about how you want to organize your literature review. Now, there's some variations. You can talk in terms of divergent or convergent information, and you can also think chronologically if you're thinking about the ways in which you want to present certain information or even a process. But I think sticking to one of those three reasoning patterns that I mentioned, side by side, chain, and reasoning, I think this will help you kind of think in terms of how you want to organize your content. And a lot of it's going to depend, again, on your thesis statement and your research questions. Remember, your research questions are part of the literature review, so everything that you discuss in your literature review really is to answer your research questions. You will then later apply your own research in your own attempt to answer your research questions, but you want to see first how others have answered your research questions, and this will be done by doing a literature review and looking and surveying different articles and books and websites, and bringing in the most important information that's related, again, to your research questions. In the most basic sense, your thesis statement is the answer to your research questions. Think about the link between your thesis statement and research questions, and then your own research later. But when we develop our literature review, we want to organize all of our ideas in such a way that we make it clear that our thesis statement is the answer to our research questions. I hope this helps. If you do have any questions, feel free to contact me through Canvas by sending me an email. Obviously, we'll be talking about this in greater detail in our tutoring sessions, not only this week, but going forward as we work through your literature review and get it organized in such a way that is logical, that's coherent, cohesive, and provides unity around a central idea, specifically the thesis statement and research questions. So, good luck. I hope this helps, and I look forward to seeing your work.